Good morning, everybody. Here we are. It is Tuesday. We have got SparkStories going on today, and we are with Hannah Morris today, who is she's a parent mentor, like what I'm coming on to be doing. And so I'm very excited to talk to her because she has been doing it longer than I have. So I know that she's going to have some really good insights for us this morning. Just waiting to see if... sorry, touching things is scary. If I can put a comment in to say hello, because apparently that might help me see comments as you go. There we go, hello. And I'm just waiting to see if I can find Hannah. Oh, she's popped up. That's exciting. That's a good start, Hannah. I'm going to add you, see if that works. It says it's adding. We have been talking. We're going to be talking, and we have started talking about positive discipline, which is a great thing to talk about. It's really good for us all to understand it. Is it working? Hello.
Hi.
Do you know what, Hannah? It's doing this thing where I know you're there, but I can't. I can just see a black screen. But
Yeah, same here. I can't see you.
You can't see me either. Oh, well, there we go. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, Tara.
Good. So we are here. We're here to talk about you and your business and give the people watching some nice tips and things like that. So start off by telling us who you are, what you do, and why you do it, and all of that lovely stuff.
Hi, I'm Hannah Morris. I'm a home educator and mum of 3 autistic children with ADHD. I kind of fell into becoming a parent mentor, really. I joined Facebook groups 4 years ago, wanting that connection and help from other people. But instead, I found myself giving that help to others. They, like people, particularly back then, emergency home education was really kicking off, and there was a lot of scared parents out there needing to get out of traditional schooling and not knowing what to do, and they were putting their questions and worries out there on these Facebook groups. And so I started commenting amongst many others that were more experienced than me at the time, just to try and cheer them up and to try and just help them. And more they wanted my comments and my responses, and they would like personally message me and seek me out for me to help them. And so it kind of snowballed from there, really. Because I have the background with the autistic side and the neurodiverse side, that's really spoken to a lot of parents, because many parents who they have to leave the traditional schooling route, it is due to neurodiverse reasons. So then it's kind of just snowballed. I'm sometimes with families for over a year, just helping them out until they find their feet. Sometimes it's just a day. It might only be half a day. It just depends what help they want.
Oh, lovely. It's nice.
Yeah.
Nice that it's bespoke to them and what they need. Because everyone's different. Everyone's coming from a different perspective, aren't they?
Yeah, and that's the thing. I don't give the same advice twice, in a sense. You know, you do have to do it. It is bespoke. That's what works for them, is putting that family at the centre, and totally focusing on their needs and what they need, rather than imposing kind of an agenda on them, which is what they're trying to get out of.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you don't want to leave one just to be like join another. If you like, you want your space to find where you are.
And do what's right. And do what's right by the children that are involved, because
exactly,
that's who we're trying to help.
Exactly. Yeah.
So do you find that you work with a lot of people that have left schooling because the children aren't being supported right, or is it a mix of other parents as well, or is it all home educators, or is that?
I help any parent really that
Yeah.
asks.
Yeah.
I've helped a lot of children learn to read and to learn the basics of math, that they do attend school, but they might be in year 1 or year 2 and sometimes reception, and the teacher already has given up on them. And I have cases where the parents are like, they've said my children are unteachable, and what do we do? And I've then worked with the parents, got to know the child through them, what makes them tick, if you like, how to excite them about learning.
Yeah.
And I've then taught, I've helped the parents teach their children how
Yeah.
to read. And then once they've got that love or spark, they're flying then in school and able to kind of continue on with their journey. So I help them in that way. I've recently had a mum reach out to me. Her child is in year 2 and he has just lost the spark entirely. He doesn't like learning. The curiosity has been flattened and he doesn't like school, and it's just, she can see him disappearing. And you know, with the imaginative child and creative child he was, it's just being diminished. So she's reached out to try and re-spark that within the home. That yes, he's still going to go to school, but it's what she can be doing in the background to keep maintaining that part of him.
Yeah.
So
I think parents can do so much at home, like, because not everyone can home educate, and they might want to, but you can. I think we forget that once they're at school, we can still do so much at home. We are their first teacher. We can create that love of learning at home, and then hopefully it will carry on while they're at school. But it's happening so often, isn't it? I was talking to someone the other day whose child is in preschool, and they've basically had to pull them out of preschool because the teacher said similar, like, he's unteachable. And I was like, he's 3. What is wrong?
They're not giving them a chance. Yeah.
Honestly. And like, children are born with this natural love of learning and this need to explore and find out about the world. If they didn't, the human race wouldn't be where it is now.
Exactly.
So, like,
why is one of their
first
words.
Yeah.
Why, mummy? What's this?
Yeah. So something is happening to crush that, and it's like, we can definitely change that as parents at home. We can.
Yeah.
But I think it takes a lot of empowering.
Book actually is going to look at that theme of, not necessarily, it will be talking about home ed, but it's talking about how you can apply those principles to any child. It's because it's within the home. It doesn't matter that you've outsourced them going to learn the academics somewhere else. That's great.
Yeah.
But you can do so, as you said yourself, you can do so much more within the home, and you can make the learning fun. You can give them passion projects, learn things. Don't just stick them in extracurricular places just because the school says so. Really do it for them to thrive and personally be connected to that side of learning. You can you could do the two. You could parallel it. And it will mean that your child will be just so more rounded
And happy.
And happy. Yes, exactly.
I think it takes a lot of empowering parents, though, because there's a lot of parents that, I think I'm guilty of this, definitely, that as an ex-teacher I'm very well trained in all of this stuff, and I forget that not everyone knows that. Not everyone knows that stuff. But what I'm trying to get to people is that learning with your child is really great, and the connections you can make together. So you might not know everything about, I don't know, how a heart works, but actually learning that together is going to be really, really lovely and really special.
Well, I totally forgotten all of my maths, and teaching my children, I've had to learn my times tables again, and I'm just going through the journey with them. And it's more fun. It's definitely more fun. And we just teach each other, and it's not, I am the teacher. It is, what can we explore together and learn together? And they think it's funny that mummy doesn't know everything.
Well, that's so empowering for them as well, that they can teach you, because actually just because we are bigger and we are older doesn't mean that we are better or we know more. They've got so much that they can teach us as well, which is, I think it's just a lovely thing to do. So what questions have I got written down then? So we've kind of done that just by chatting. So what do you find, what's the most rewarding thing that you find about working with parents?
Giving them the confidence. A lot of the parents that I work with, like, I've had phone calls at 11 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night where they're crying down the phone. They're that desperate. In this particular instance, it will be to take the children out. Like, children are being bullied at school. Some of them have been suicidal, and they have to, for their own mental health, get out. It's not necessarily just because the schooling side isn't happening. The mental health side's also really important. And I have so many parents that are really scared because you're going against the norm. You're going against society, and that's scary. You know what I mean? Even I, like, I'm so many years in myself, and I still question myself sometimes and just kind of go, oh, yeah, you kind of get swept back into the media and into society. And so what I do is I work with them to instill that self-confidence in themselves, that you, as you say, you don't need to be a teacher, like, and know all the knowledge. You have to know your child, and you refocus that aim into your family, onto your child and your relationship with that child first. And you're like, you're a parent, you've got this, you know your child, you know what's best for your child, and it's giving them those tools and for them to feel that they've got it. And that's the most rewarding, when they come to me and they're smiling and they're just saying, oh wow, like, their whole relationship with their child changes, and they just feel so much more happier as a family unit, and so much more confident that they can do it. And that's when I know I've done it. You know what I mean? I'm just like, there you go. I'm sending you back off into the world. They always know where I am. I'm always only a message away. And some of them don't contact for like a year, and then recontact and just go, oh, we've had just such an amazing year, and they like catch me up. Which is like, yeah, it's really great, because no parent deserves to be scared and feeling, am I failing my child? You know what I mean? What else can I be doing? There's a lot of expectation and pressure, I think, put on parents these days, and it can really feel crushing, particularly when you've put your trust in school, for example, and if that school's made a situation worse or it isn't working, you're kind of like, well, who can I trust?
Well, yeah,
I thought the teachers had my back.
Especially since there's so much at the moment, isn't there, about home education, and it's being made out to be like this evil thing, and how schools are the place to be. And actually, if you've spent your whole life knowing, thinking and listening to society and going, yep, I have to send my child to school because that's exactly what we need to do, and that's what everyone tells me to do, to suddenly see that that's not working for your child, that's going to take a lot of reconditioning in our heads to go, well, actually, maybe there's another way. But yeah,
parents have to like de-school in a sense. They have to kind of come away from society, and you kind of got to go into your little bubble for a bit and just shut out the outside noise and refocus. And so many, I mean, it's not a one-way street, that's the thing. It's kind of like, you can take them out, you can restabilize them, you can home ed a year or two, however long they need to get the trauma sorted. And then I've known people then to put the children back into a different school, different environment that might have been removed, and it works perfectly. It's not, you know what I mean, it's not a one and done, point of no return. It can be used as a tool to just restabilize that family, that child, get them back to where they need to be before you start again. Really, you don't have that space to do that if they stay in the environment causing the hurt. If you take them away from that and then re-kill them and get them excited about learning again, then you and give them a fresh start.
Yeah.
Doesn't
No, that's lovely.
have to
That's,
be 100%.
yeah. It's not like it's like you're taking them out and that's it forever.
Yeah, exactly. Not necessarily.
No.
No, it doesn't
No.
have to be at all. It can be used as a really good tool to
Yeah.
really encourage them to make that next step.
So moving on then from that sort of home education-y type stuff, although we probably still will talk about it a bit. So this week in the group, we're talking a lot about positive discipline and how discipline doesn't have to be like a scary, discipline doesn't mean we're going to be strict and start putting them on the naughty step and all that stuff. So can you share some strategies for those times when we want to maintain a boundary, but we also want to stay connected to our child? Because sometimes that can feel like one can't happen at the same time as the other, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we do, which really works well with our children, is to explain everything. I grew up, and perhaps you did too, where the parents were like, "You do as we say. That's it. There's no argument." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We are in charge, and you say it. You do it because I say, because I've told you.
It's very top down.
Yeah. But I found that very early on that didn't work with my children, and it just made the environment worse, and it just wasn't being successful at all with them following rules. So what we realised was to explain to them the reasoning behind, give them, make sense in their world. But you're not just imposing something on them. It's like, for example, don't run in the kitchen. You then would go through and you explain what could happen, what health and safety, essentially. And you're doing it from a place of love. You're kind of like explaining to them, we're doing this to keep you safe, or to keep the family safe, or so we don't knock off anything. And that when they become a part of the whole reasoning, for me, we found that really they feel grown up. They're just like, oh, okay, we can work together as a team by following these rules, staying in these boundaries, and the whole ecosystem, if you like, of the family just runs smoothly. So they feel a part of it rather than, and same as bedtime. You know what I mean? You explain to them the reasons why you need to go to bed, how it helps your brain.
Yeah.
You might even be a bit like, okay, have a late night, stay as late as you want. How do you then come to me, and how do you feel in the morning? Compared to
got to live it to understand it.
Yes, exactly. And then they're like, oh, it actually feels a lot better the next day if I go to bed at the time. And then there's a bit of flexibility. It's like we have an 8 o'clock bedtime, but they can choose to go up there at 7:30 to read together, and they always chat anyway until about 9. So we know by 9 they are fast asleep. They're just in their room, they're just bonding, they're communicating with each other, they're, we put the worlds to rights in their own little way. Sometimes reading, sometimes role playing, and it's still bonding time, and then they just fall asleep. It's not 8 o'clock, lights out, you know what I mean? You don't move a muscle until the morning. It's fluid like that. But it's still structure.
It's a hard, sometimes it can be quite hard when you're putting boundaries in place to really know. I sometimes have to just take a step just to be and think, is this really important? Do I really need to put this boundary in place? Because sometimes you do, as a parent, you just get into that sort of rut of telling them what to do all the time, and you think, I've got to be in charge, but you don't need to be in charge. You work together on it. But I think when you've worked out what boundaries are really important, also being flexible is really important. So they, like you say, they're part of it. They feel a bit more grown up about it, and they can. My daughter is the master of I can't think of the word now. Master of, what's the word? The master of, try, like, if I say something, she'll say, well, I'll just do this first. Like, she's always got, like, oh, I really can't think of the word, but she's always chatting to me and working out what works for her and what way suits both of us, if you know what I mean. So she's
Mm.
the master of compromise and
And
you know,
negotiation.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, my
Um,
eldest is a bit like that as well. I hear what you say, but mommy, I'm going to rise and say this, and then you kind of like going on a bartering system until the negotiations kind of like,
yeah,
okay, I'm happy, you're happy, and but ideally, what I wanted to happen has happened.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, you're right. Negotiation was the word I was looking for. Just went out of my brain then. Um, so, so lots of parents, and I still get this. I've got an 8-year-old and a 2-year-old. Get very overwhelmed at times, or we get triggered by something that has probably happened in our own childhood and it's triggering us now. How would you suggest the parents like handle situations when they're feeling that sort of overwhelm? What could they
Try
do?
and kind of, if you can, obviously it's not always possible,
Yeah.
but if your partner's there or someone else is there, to kind of take over so you can step back and just take and breathe, go into another room, make a
Thinking.
coffee, just diffuse, get some distance between the children. That can also work. But obviously, no one is perfect. We always have every parent, if they're honest, will say, yeah, there is times when I've lost my cool.
Yeah.
And it will have been because we, as you say, we've got overwhelmed, we've got triggered, and we've kind of let that take over the situation. And you will always mess up. But parenting is a learning journey, and I think if you're worried about that side of things, you're doing it right.
Yeah.
It's those who aren't concerned that you might have to feel a bit anxious about. But if you're constantly reviewing on how you've tackled a situation, and how could you improve it, what could have done better, you're winning at parenting. You know what I mean? That you are
Definitely.
learning. And all you can do is keep that reflection going, be very honest with what's happened, even though obviously it's not going to paint you in a great light. You've got to kind of reflect on it and just go, yeah, I really messed up there. And you have to acknowledge it to the child and
Yeah.
apologize. And what I found is as they've got older, I can sit with them and say, the apology, but also say, Mummy was feeling this. How do you feel when you feel this? And it kind of like, so they get it that it's not a random thing that's occurred.
Yeah.
There is a reason. It doesn't justify it, doesn't excuse it, but there was a reason that Mummy felt or Daddy feels like this. How can we? And then it's kind of turns into a powwow. How can we as a family kind of move forward and
Hmm.
not it happen again?
I think there's a
Um,
lot of power in apologizing to our
yes.
children, and I
Yeah,
think
you have
like
to admit, I'm not perfect. I don't
yeah,
know it all.
yeah,
Definitely.
and saying to them I was feeling this, it was, and it kind of takes, because a lot of kids will, especially younger ones, if you do lose your cool, they won't really understand what's happened before that, and all they feel is like their nervous system goes wow,
Yeah.
and they almost feel like it's their fault. So if you apologize and say that this is how I was feeling, it's nothing, it's not you, it's nothing to do with you, I'm working on it, it takes that blame off them. And that, because I know that my daughter would feel guilty, I know she would.
Yeah, yeah. They kind of, well, obviously, because that's what they're kind of made to do. Like they internalize
Yeah,
when they're little,
yeah.
and the memories are long in those negative situations. So it's as much as what you do afterwards as well. But really, you don't just brush it off and pretend nothing happened. Um, and it's more bonding in a sense. You get that, you know what I mean? You get that
Yeah,
moment of
and I think
everyone on the same page again.
yeah, I I think a lot of parents will feel like guilt. They feel that a lot, especially if we've lost our cool or something. And I think we need to rethink how guilt is. I think we should think of it as a positive thing, because it shows us that something isn't right and we need to work on it. And it actually is a really good self-reflection tool when we're feeling that. It's when it's turning into sort of shame, that we actually don't need the shame. We just need to use the guilt as a pod and use it to propel ourselves forward, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So that's my dishwasher, that's exciting. Did you have any other like top tips you wanted to share for us? But I know you wanted to read from your book as well, so have you got any top tips for us before we go?
Yeah, I think always, and this is from early years, from your parenting perspective and relationship with your child, not just from an education side of things, just place your child at the center of your world and their world. It's kind of like you give them a voice, allow them a voice and a choice. And I think if you do that from the word go, they are so much more confident in themselves and independent to make their own decisions. When they're little, you do it on things that really, it doesn't matter to you whatsoever. You choose, let them choose a red dress or a blue dress or whatever.
To them it does matter.
But for them, it's their world.
Yeah.
They feel so grown up. And even I did this even before my new colours, because I might go red or blue or whatever, and over time they kind of learnt their colours just because, you know what I mean, just because
Just 'cause it
due to
happens
that
naturally.
interaction.
Yeah.
You can do it with foods. Choose a variety of foods that it's a win if they eat any of them, but they have that power to choose and that independence. And then I take that further on into the education side of, if they're reading, or even if they're just reading for fun, let them choose the books. And if we go to the library, you know, you choose. It's so you're getting what you want to do from the reading side of things, but they still have that decision.
We've always given choices, and my daughter, when she was in reception, they always chose the reading book for them, and she refused to read it. And I said to them, she says that she's not allowed to choose a book. Do you think she could just choose one? Maybe. I understand that she needs to have the right colour, but if she chose it, I think she'd be much happier. And from that moment on, she was happy to read. Just let them choose. Why wouldn't you?
And I think that's very common in schools, is the decision and the choice making is taken away from them. So it's even more important at home that it's there, because for us personally, there's so much less pushback, there's less meltdowns, because they feel like they're included and they've got autonomy within the boundaries that you set. Like mine are told, you have to read every day. I don't mind what they read.
No.
They can read the back of a recipe, you know what I mean? I don't mind. It's up to them. But so that's where the boundary and the choice comes in, you know what I mean? So they live in a kind of a bubble or ecosystem where they have so many choices and decisions they can make throughout the day, and they don't feel like they're being parented, if you like. So it's a more harmonious way of parenting, I found. Just give them loads of choices that makes no difference to us personally and still gets all the jobs done.
But it's right, they're making their choices, but they've almost got that limit as well, so they feel safe within those boundaries, don't they? If they don't have the boundaries, they kind of don't, anything is possible, and then that can be a bit overwhelming, and they get like decision paralysis, and it's like but you know. I
mean, we have the occasional on their birthdays we'll have a yes day, but it's very kind of, that's very, you know, I mean, very different. And rather it being every day, that's why it's a treat. It's like, whoa, all parenting is gone then. But it's important to get that balance. So they feel heard. They always need a voice. They always, you know what I mean? It shouldn't ever be you do this, because it's counterintuitive. It will just shut them down, I think. And they hear enough of it. It's all instructions in school. So to get that little bit of freedom back, I think it's
very empowering
in the home. Yeah, it's very empowering. Yeah, and it gives them that personal independence and critical thought that they really need to practice in daily life.
They do. So, Hannah, you are an author.
Yes.
Something I always, when I was a little girl, I was like, I'm going to be an author. So I'm very in awe of that. And,
yes, it was my dream as well. so I'm living my dream.
Tell us about your book, and then you've got a little excerpt to read from it.
Yeah, I know it's backwards, but this is the book. It's a chunky beast. I wrote it because parents pretty much asked me to write it. They were like, we want your brain on our shelves. We don't want to have to come to you all the time whenever we've got a problem. We want to just be able to reference you. So now I have a series in the works from parents that keep asking me to write about different topics. This is the first one. This came out the end of November. Okay. It's called Early Years Education, a Cornerstone of Childhood. And it's basically a mother's musings. It's me. I invite the reader to sit down with a beverage of their choice and to just chill and dialogue with me. There's lots of reflection points in it, of stuff basing from our experience, and we're just having a chat on in this case early years education, the importance of it, how you can introduce it, and involve all your family within it, and what it does to prepare your child, how important it is in how it prepares the child for schooling or formal learning, and trying to break the barriers that it's not just 0 to 5. I mean, my children still deal with early years education, and they're like almost 10, because I don't feel that there should be a cut-off point. If you still learn through play, through music, being out in nature, and all the things that we really encourage when they're little, why should it need to stop?
Doesn't have to.
You just change the games, and you just keep it going, and it's working really well with my children to kind of do that. So the excerpt I'm going to read is nerve-wracking. It's the first time I've done a book reading. I'm just going to read a page, and it refers back to what we were talking about earlier regarding given the explanation behind the discipline. So fundamentally, there has to be a connection between the child receiving the knowledge and the knowledge itself. This should be the one job of every educator, no matter whether it is the parents, caregivers, a teacher, or other family members. You have to find that solid link, the purpose and reason for that child to find information important or interesting enough to remember. You need to allow them to question and explore until it makes sense to them. Do not dictate and demand the learning of a skill without first making it relevant to them and sparking the desire. If I want to teach my children a skill, I have to put my case to them, if you will, why it benefits them personally to learn it. There needs to be an irresistible offer in order to entice them. A key foundation for teaching my neurodiverse children involves making learning applicable to their lives, providing them a reason to want to do it. There's nothing worse than an adult in your life saying, you have to do X, Y, Z, because you have to, because I say so. This rhetoric is infuriating for any child, but I think especially for neurodiverse children, who often will not do anything unless it personally benefits them, is worthwhile expending energy for, or makes sense enough for them to leave their own little world. If you try to avoid this confrontation, you can negate a lot of resentment and meltdowns. And you can apply that, as I say, to the discipline side or the learning side.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you for reading that to us. That was lovely. Oh, I want your book now. And where can you get your book?
It's on Amazon. So yeah, just search Early Years Education, Cornerstone of Childhood, or my name, Hannah Morris, and yeah, it should pop up for anyone who's interested. It's been a journey writing it. I was reaching out to the parents who wanted it, and I was just saying, what do you want in it? What do you want me to say? Pretty much. I was open. I wasn't planning ever to write these books, so it was literally reaching out to the people who wanted them that would benefit from them. What did they want? And even to the point, I was like, do you want a book summary? Does that sound a good idea? Like that you could just reference it really, really fast rather than reading, I think it's 466 pages. It's rather large. So they were like, oh, yes, please, we would love a book summary. So I did that. And I'm doing that with the other books in the series. There'll be one on alternative learning, which will really be looking at, even if you outsource the educational side of things, what you could be doing in the home, behind the scenes, to really keep that passion and spark alive with the learning side of things. And the third one will be looking at SEN, because obviously we're a SEN family, and how you can tweak your, particularly within early years, you can tweak the learning to suit the child and their needs, because that's been a massive journey for me. Teaching. I have 3 children, and you kind of think, well, they're my children, like they're all going to be the same, and obviously they're totally not. And nothing works for them like works with the second one that it did with the first. So it's like completely new, unique journeys every single time through absolutely everything. So I feel like I'm a lot more experienced. Like when I say, oh, my oldest is only 9, people go, oh, you're just a baby parent, kind of a thing. But when you've kind of gone through such unique journeys with all children, you kind of feel a bit more experienced than the years will dictate.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think, yeah, absolutely. They're all different, aren't they? And honouring that is just as important as any of the other things we've spoken about today. But thank you so much, and please pop all your links to all your groups and all of your lovely stuff in the comments below if anyone's interested, and anyone that has been watching. I don't know if you've put any comments to put any questions because can't see them, but if you do have any questions, please pop them down below and we'll do our best to answer them. Thank you very much, Hannah.
That's all right. Thanks for having me. It's been lovely.
No, it's been lovely to have a nice chat.
Yeah, definitely.
Right. Thank you.
It's great. Thank you.
All right, see you soon. Bye.
See ya.
Bye.